Hey, it is your buddy, Peace and Harmony with you here today. Much love going out to all the beautiful empowered harmonizers. And we're zooming in and focusing in a little bit more in depth on understanding scapegoating, especially as it relates to the dynamic of a covert narcissist relationship, or whatever situation you find yourself in, embedded within a family dysfunction, a marriage dysfunction, an employer dysfunction, a community dysfunction, where you feel scapegoated or that you are being surrounded by fault finders, those people who are trying to manipulate and control, specifically that with lack of identification, with those who are hypercritical. They're always trying to make a judgment call, a negative judgment, especially towards those people who they single out or use as the term scapegoat, meaning that they're making you a target of sacrifice or a constant chronic fault-finding situation, whether it's you, your spouse, a sibling, an employer. It is a way where you feel that you are being manipulated, put down, belittled, minimized, not supported, not given the evil eye, the cold shoulder, the runaround, the secrets behind your back, all those sort of backstabbing, smear campaign situations that you find yourself involved in, feeling victimized by, and sort of getting the short end of the stick, not being included in, not being clued in, not being included in clear communication. As we've discussed in previous videos, when we talk about a covert narcissist, those individuals tend to withhold communication, withhold positive attention, withhold support, withhold giving you attention, consideration, respect, the floor, the credit where credit is due. They're not able to talk about you, your accomplishments, what's going on with you, your health, your family, your finances, your trips, your weekend, your day, what you had to eat. They're just not interested. And furthermore, they want to put salt on it as if to rub it into your wound, saying, why would you want to do that? In other words, there's a constant put down, not only with their lack of attention, but there is sort of an insinuation that you have it all wrong, that you are inherently flawed and you're the crazy one. This is called crazy making in psychological terms. And it's to understand that really a covert narcissist, someone who has a pathological sense of self-importance, and more so a pathological need to quote unquote look good, appear the center of attention, and utilize the resources of others to accomplish this, to keep this going. Oftentimes, part of their manipulation tactic is to single out or scapegoat, hyper-criticize someone who calls them out, knows the truth, is requiring for them to look at and face something within themselves, face a fear within themselves, face an insecurity or an inability or a weakness within themselves that is not their strong suit, that is not an element that they have. So that when you are being scapegoated, it's to understand whether you might want to call it a jealousy, whether you want to call it an insecurity, whether you want to call it a weakness in this person, an inability. You are calling to light an inability, a weakness, really a shortcoming of them. So for example, if you are in love or have been in love or are in love with a narcissist, someone who you idolize, put up on a pedestal, think they're the world, think they're the best thing since sliced bread. I mean, they are like your savior. You are infatuated with them. You're in love with them. No one else can take their place. And you end up putting up with a lot of BS, criticism, not being included, sort of the object of ridicule once in a while, but then they pepper it with specific, outings or whatever it is that they do that gives you the feeling that you're connected with them. And yet then they come at you with criticism. Why do you want to commit? You're not making enough money for me, or why would you want to commit? I need to go on the road with my band, or they're just trying to call you out, and to explain why there's something needy or wrong with you for wanting a functional relationship, because they are dysfunctional, because they don't have the ability to commit. They don't have the ability to be equal partners. They don't have the ability to be, a person of heart. They're not secure enough. It's like the rock star that's just, their ego is too big that they can't embrace the fans. If you've ever seen a rock star who embraces the fans, they take time to talk to the audience, or they take time to sign an autograph, or this person donates to charity. This person, even though of their great accomplishments, they still can level with people. They can still be humble. They can still say, I'm fearful here. I have fears. I'm an ordinary person. There's some who want to always appear bigger than life. They want to appear flawless. They want to appear impenetrable. They want to be, it's like the alcoholic that you can't tell them they have a drinking problem. It's like the narcissist. You can't tell them that they have a selfishness problem, that they have an ego problem. They are addicted. It's like an alcoholic, until they find that they're causing all this suffering in their life, no matter what anyone says, until they realize it themselves, they're not going to change. And they go, whoa, my life is better without doing all this. So that's really kind of what a scapegoat is like. It's like you are triggering a fear that they cannot handle. They cannot deal with, they cannot process, because to do so makes them look bad. Again, we were using in a previous video the example of, let's say, in a gang-ridden area, and there's someone who in that gang who doesn't want to be part of that anymore. They want to get educated. They want to leave the hood. They want to leave the slums. They want to get a better life. Yet this person then becomes an object of ridicule, scapegoat, made fun of, because they want to do better in life. They want to earn a legitimate income. So it is because this individual, because they're rising up, because they see the truth, they want to be a law-abiding citizen, it makes the others feel like they look bad, that they don't have that same desire, they don't have that same inclination. So they then threaten and then intimidate this individual. It's a very similar analogy to the person who is scapegoated or manipulated into a chronic criticism and felt that they are never attended to. It's because you're calling out, there's an area where this person does not have a strength. Either they can't give others attention, they have a lack of empathy. They don't feel comfortable slowing down their own role enough to attend to you. They feel too threatened by giving you positive accolades, positive compliments, saying, good job, a job well done. That was amazing. You did great there. They can't applaud your accomplishments, because to do so would mean that you are accomplished, and it threatens them in some way. It makes them feel or look bad in some way, or they just can't share the spotlight. They feel uncomfortable saying, wow, good for you, man. Good for you, girl. Good for you, woman. Whatever it is, they can't give the compliments. They're of very few words or withholding of such. And so they, and it's different than like chronic, constructive criticism, and then say, hey, rather than, overeating and feeling sick and being home all weekend, why don't you just have some, but do portion control? That's, instead of being critical, you dumb, fat, you can go at things with different ways. So oftentimes a narcissist is not able, to give constructive feedback. It's all about what makes them look good. So oftentimes the key thing, the kicker is that the criticism is not in your best interest. It's not supportive or providing of your needs. It's to make them look good, but oftentimes you pay the price. It is very, very painful to be part of this. It is very painful to be scapegoated. And it oftentimes causes people to live with decades of pain because of this confusion, because of constantly being around someone who is putting you down. This becomes really painful, but until you can move away from it, you can get out of the range, if you will, that you can finally begin to say, whoa, and get perspective and go, you know what, that was not fair, that was unjust, that was just this type of individual, because they don't have the empathy, it's just them getting their needs met, and it's a way for them to control their fear. Let's see, what else did I have? So it has more to do with their needs, is what I was writing on this morning. As a writer, I go into in depth in these topics before doing the videos. So it's more about their needs getting met, and it has nothing to do with you. And you will find that the criticizer, the constant fault finder, will oftentimes criticize your strengths, your positive characteristics, your work ethic, your sales ability, your cooking ability, your way that you love nature, the way you relate to family, the way that you cook, particularly that of, anything that helps you to rise above, moving on up to the top, like the old Jeffersons, theme song from that song. You're rising on up, but they're trying to get you down. They're trying to, keep you from accelerating your life. And oftentimes this can be a huge inhibiting factor and cause people to not live up to their potential or live the quality or abundance or prosperity of life because of this feeling that they create, that, what's wrong with you? They want to hold you back because to do so would be to suit their needs. They're threatened by your accomplishments. They're threatened by your success. They're threatened by what you stir up within them. So it's not, the criticism has nothing to do with a fault or a weakness of your own. It has to do with their needs, in satisfying of their needs to control and manipulate and be the one in the center of attention or be the one who's always right. So it's very important that you not get seduced, that you don't get sucked in, or that you don't fall for this manipulation tactic. Now, hitherto, oftentimes, because of the clout, the weight, the status of the narcissist, whatever it is about them that gives them this, whether it's money, position, their male or femaleness, whatever it is, they, whatever it is that they're using as the status, oftentimes it's because their effect is threatened or equalized or could be minimized. So if they see the potential for you to grow beyond, you're then not as available to satisfy their needs, to feel better than. So you're actually, when you're being scapegoated or criticized, you're actually fulfilling their needs. So it's holding you back. So it's not a good exchange of energy, time. It's almost like as if they're taking from your emotional bank balance to further their own. So you have to be very careful not to fall for this manipulation. It's more about their needs, and it's not about your flaws. Especially if you're at the hands of someone who is a true mental illness, this can take a huge emotional toll and impact on you negatively. And so once again, an important concept that I was thinking of earlier today, it's the constant criticism is how they mask their own inability. It's how they mask their own inability. So someone who is hypercritical, it's to mask their own inability, their own weakness, their own dependency needs. So, and so rather than appear in a specific situation, whether it's to listen, whether it's to admit their own faults, whether it's for them to understand that, a specific area that they need to work on. For example, an alcoholic, they want to live in denial. They're going to drink to excess, to, their detriment, to their financial losses, their relationship losses. It's, you try to, call them out, and they're going to overcompensate by being rageful or angry at other people. They're going to be threatening or abusive. In other words, it's a masking of their own denial. They don't want to admit it's a difficult thing for them to admit a weakness to themselves. It's difficult for them to admit, I have a drinking problem, I have an eating problem, I have a spending problem. It's difficult for them to admit this within themselves, so rather than deal with it, they would rather avoid it. So you see the accentuation of the narcissist who becomes more narcissistic and more scapegoating because they can't admit to themselves this area or this situation or this flaw. And so those people who receive the most criticism are the ones who receive the most threat. So these are just some things that I wrote down. And let's just see here. We've got a few more minutes. And so really a furthermore insight that I came upon this morning is that when you realize this, you actually have power over them. You actually have power over them. So it's important when you realize that you're being scapegoated, criticized, the object of contention, or scapegoated, you actually have a strength and you actually have power over them to create this treatment. Even though it's negative, when you step back, you realize that you are getting a reaction from them. And oftentimes it's in their best interest and not in your best interest. So it's important for you to not give into their criticism or their scapegoating. In other words, don't eat their cake. Don't eat what they're dishing up. Don't take it at face value. This takes a lot of strength. It takes a lot of growth, personal growth to see this. You have to be a little bit down the path. And so furthermore, those people who are criticizing, who are scapegoating, it is out of a sense of helplessness. So they don't feel the ability to deal with or handle the situation that the situation requires. So there's actually a feeling of helplessness. So and again, there's something about it. It just doesn't, it makes them look bad, less than, and so they're threatened. So they overcompensate by criticizing. I want you to understand this dynamic, and I think you'll see how this pertains to you in your specific situation. And so let's just see here. So in other words, also, when you stay in a scapegoated position with them, you're feeding them emotionally. So you're still staying emotionally connected. And it's also important to understand that the covert narcissist still feels emotionally connected when they are scapegoating or criticizing another. So it's maintaining this negative emotional connection. So it's very important for you to break the cycle and not become part of that loop. Let's just see here. And also furthermore, that you don't need to explain and justify yourself. Well, I want to go to college because, I want to go to do this business because, you are still feeding in. Don't begin to enter the boxing ring, as I say. Don't begin to battle and explain yourself. Don't feed into that. Don't feel bad. Don't feel guilty. If you're not participating with them, amen. You don't need to give in and justify and explain yourself as to why your truth is. Because when you do, very important, when you don't give in to their victimization, you're giving a death to the victim role. When you don't give in, this is very important concept, I feel, or insight, is that you're then, it's a death of the ego, a victim ego. When you don't fall into this, you're no longer a victim. You're no longer playing the game. You got to play to win, like they say with the lotto. With the covert narcissist, you have to play to lose. So don't play. When you don't play, it's a death to the ego. It's a death to the victimhood. It's a death to that role. And oftentimes people, if they've been in that role for so long or felt that for so long, it's very difficult to shed that completely. And when I say completely, I mean 100%. 100%. You might graduate in perspective, but eventually, true and complete healing is when you let go of that negativity holding you back 100%, and you have radical self-reliance. And it is a great thing to realize that to not give into their need, to not fit into their need to criticize. It's you step away, you step out, you do not react. The reactions are what really exhaust you. When you're feeling exhausted, when you're feeling run down, when you're not, you're feeling de-energized, it's because you've been reacting for so long versus responding. And responding comes from more of a peaceful, self-positive, unconditional self-love place. So you need to live in that space. And even if it feels lonely, even if it feels like you're on your own, this actually, if you define it as autonomy and self-reliance and not isolation and not loneliness and not loserdom, it's to understand that this is radical self-reliance. This is autonomy. This is liberation. This is freedom. This is not scapegoat. This is not living less than. This is not living the inferiority complex. This is living autonomously. So it's when you're breaking free, you're not playing the loser. You got to play to win. Well, with the covert narcissist, you have to play to lose. Don't play. Don't be played. To me, that's a huge realization. And furthermore, okay, I'm going to just continue on here before we wrap it up. It's to understand then that you should enjoy being yourself. You should celebrate yourself. We hear all these movements in the world today, celebrate your nationality, celebrate your sexuality, celebrate your originality, own your weirdness. I mean, that is the heralding mark of Zappos. In a lot of Google and a lot of these, creative IT startups, that these people are working like 20-hour days and taking whatever Adderall, and whatever trace dosing hallucinogens in the IT areas. This is what I've heard. I have not lived or been around Silicon Valley or Google, the campus of San Francisco. If there are any viewers out there, I'd love to hear from you. But there's a lot of real, young professionals nowadays who are microdosing Adderall or hallucinogens of some sort in order to, become the best, in order to overproduce. And it's important, there's so much of that, whether you're transgender, all this stuff is like coming out of the woodwork. And so for you, through all this, it's important for you to enjoy yourself. It's important for you to be empowered. It's important for you to recondition yourself, as in the topics that we discuss here, to resensitize yourself on all your 7 senses. All your 5 senses, including your intuition, including your higher consciousness. It's important for you to resensitize these and really become solid in that and do yourself solid. Really get into your independence, being able to become emotionally strong, emotionally clear, so that you don't fall prey to manipulation tactics, so that once you do, then you're able to attract someone who is respectful, respectful of boundaries and standards, and not emotionally manipulative or scapegoating this type of relationship. You need to shed these, but furthermore, to do so, you need to acknowledge and validate what has happened so you can become whole, healed, empowered, and live the good life. This is your buddy, Peace and Harmony, with you here today, and I hope that these videos do help. Please share and please subscribe for more great tools, videos, discussion, and support. Love you. Peace out. Have a wonderful day.